Welcome to 10 Minutes to Higher Leadership. Today we're going to be talking about picking the right strawberry to increase your team's value. I'm Carly Ferguson. I am owner of Propel Forward and a leadership change expert. And thank you for joining me. So let's talk about these strawberries. You know how that is. You get the quart box of strawberries and you pick one up and it's that red, ripe, juicy strawberry and you bite into it and it's wonderful. And you keep going through your strawberries and then you find that one that is moldy, fuzzy, squishy, and you're just like, it's infecting all these other strawberries. So you quickly dispose of it and you wash your other strawberries hoping that you can salvage the other ones. When I became a senior director at a very large food and merchandising retailer, one of my functional areas was technical training, and they were conducting training on strawberry handling to get rid of the same problem I just talked about. And this training was, included the proper unpacking and packing of strawberries, but it also taught the do's and don'ts of proper storage. And they trained the employees on the early signs of mold and how to ferret out those overaged, saggy berries that are attempting to hang out amongst those in their youth. And I asked the team for their high-level success measures for this project. And they kind of looked at me quizzically and then they said, well, we measure the number of employees that are trained and we also measure their, average rating on the course. So did we get, 4 out of 5 stars for this course? My response was, who cares? They looked at me like I wasn't the brightest crown in the box. After all, these were the measures they had used for years. And I have to admit that years ago, I would have used those same measures, maybe added a few others about behavior, but not getting to what was really needed. Because really, who cares? The only person who was going to care about the measures they were using was the instructional designer who created the course. Nobody else cares about those measures. They care that the training's done, but for different reasons. Now, this team had been fighting a 7-year streak of being undervalued and under-resourced. And they had lots of great courses that were meeting a huge variety of the company's needs. And they were working their tails off because so many of the senior vice presidents needed them to create courses for their groups. They were having trouble keeping up with all the demand. But in their own words, they believe that others perceive them as any monkey could do this job. As they worked hard to complete one vice president's request, another one was complaining that they were obviously twiddling their thumbs because that request that they had wanted wasn't done fast enough. It seemed like they could do little right. I figured, if we could fix the value perception of strawberry training, we could fix the value perception of anything within our organization. Here are 3 critical questions to ensure every area under your responsibility is thinking in terms of strategic value. First question, who are you trying to influence and why? Now, this team wanted to influence the senior leadership team so they would be seen as value added. And they wanted to be seen as adding strategic value so they could get the resources that they needed to do their work and make it more manageable and not be exhausted at the end of the week because of the hours they put in trying to meet a demand that they were just understaffed for. And this value could also change the perceptions across the organization that they weren't busy or they weren't talented or didn't take unique skills to do what they did. Are the members on each of your team clear on who they have to influence? Help them be clear on not only their influence, but the target and the goals before they take aim. Too many times we unintentionally let our teams take an aim, fire, aim approach instead of a ready, aim, fire approach. Slow them down just a little bit to speed them up later. Second question, why is the objective important? not to you, but to the persons they're trying to influence. Your team's view of the issue is often very different from the persons they're trying to influence. Are your teams concerned with the trees, the forest, or the vista? My technical team was looking at the trees, and the executives they wanted to influence were looking at the vistas. Help your team shift their perspective and consider the measures of success used by those that they are actually trying to influence. Why do the executives care about strawberry training? Well, it's certainly not because they worry that people are going to rate the course a 2 out of 5 stars instead of a 4 out of 5 stars. It's because the executives care about reducing spoilage, and that's going to reduce cost, which will increase revenue. It's all back to that bottom line. So with this information to guide them, the team reached out to store operations to get the data they needed. They asked for the cost and volume information to calculate the % decrease in strawberries being thrown out. Given that this big box retailer was located across numerous states, the savings were impressive. Now my team was thinking like the executives that they wanted to influence. Their perspective had risen to where the executives' vantage point was. And they started to do this with all of their outcomes, and 1 year later, they were given the headcount that they so desperately had hoped for. So my question for you is, where are your fuzzy strawberries hiding out in your functional areas? Take the time to educate your teams on the executive success measures so they can figure out how to better align. I'm going to share 2 slides that I've used and that I continue to use, and you are welcome to duplicate these. Or if you want me to send them to you, just shoot me a note at carlan@propelforward.com and I'll send them to you. And to you, they may seem like nothing new, but don't assume your teams have the same thinking and the same knowledge. Okay, here's the first slide. Nothing earth-shattering, as I said. In your company, line leadership positions may automatically think in terms of some of these higher level success measures because they monitor them every day. But it's common for staff positions to miss the connection. In fact, I missed aligning to these measures for several years, and it wasn't until I became a manufacturing manager that I really started thinking in these terms. What I would look at as a manufacturing manager is our productivity, our cost, our quality, and I would make sure that those, of course, align to increase revenue. But when I was overseeing other areas of the organization, it was more difficult to see the total connection. So on this next slide, here are some ways to look at that connection for your team. Your thinking is probably already aligned to this, that you either want to increase revenue or decrease expenses. But when you think about what your team does at a more micro level, are they really thinking about this? I spend a lot of time on executive coaching, and I have to think about this too. Why do my clients ask me to coach some of their leaders? They want this person's behavior to turn around and change. They also want this person to be a better leader so that they can engage their employees and so that people want to work with them. When people don't want to work with somebody, it causes issues with productivity, right? If I'm avoiding you because you have some behaviors that are just a little abrasive, then we've lost time. And we have affected productivity, we've affected time to money, we have affected a lot of these measures. That's why the investment is worth it. So in conclusion, pick 1 or 2 strawberries to nurture from your organization. Connect them to those bottom line results and watch that team's value and sense of purpose grow. It's going to ripen your entire organization to perfection. And just a reminder to keep tying the value of your organization and your metrics into your vision and strategic plan. What you say? I don't have a vision and strategic plan? Or perhaps you find your vision and strategic plan to be boring, lifeless, dull. Well, then you want to join me at my free masterclass. How's that for a pitch, right? Creating your energizing vision. You can check out my website, propelforward.com, to find out how to register for this, and it'll take you to a direct link. And if you're looking for an energizing strategic pause to find your passion, create your vision, determine your strategies, and communicate in ways that engage even the most resistant individuals, then join me in Albuquerque, New Mexico in August. And again, you can get more details on that workshop at propelforward.com. Till next time, keep raising your leadership.